Good day, beautiful souls. Today, I want to share something simple, yet incredibly powerful, a tool that can transform your life from the inside out. It is the power of affirmations, and I want you to remember this phrase throughout our time together. I can do it. Let's begin by understanding a profound truth. Your thoughts shape your reality. Everything you think, everything you say to yourself, is a message you are sending to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious listens. It believes you, it doesn't judge, it doesn't argue, it simply accepts and creates according to the patterns you give it. If you constantly say, "I'm not good enough," your subconscious believes that and manifests it in your life. But if you say, "I am capable, I love and accept myself," then your life will begin to reflect that love, that belief, and that worthiness. Let's begin with the foundation of everything, your mind. What if I told you that every thought you think is shaping the blueprint of your life? Not in some metaphorical way, but quite literally. The dialogue you carry within yourself becomes the framework through which you interpret your experiences, form your beliefs, and ultimately define your reality. This is not mystical thinking. This is the architecture of the mind. Each of us walks through life with a constant stream of inner dialogue. Some of that dialogue uplifts and affirms our value, while much of it, often unconsciously, diminishes us. We tell ourselves, "I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, nothing ever works out for me." These aren't just harmless words. These are deeply embedded thought patterns, rehearsed beliefs that instruct the subconscious mind on how to operate. And the subconscious doesn't question, it obeys. Now think of the subconscious mind as fertile soil. It doesn't care what kind of seed you plant. It will nourish anything you place in it, whether that seed is doubt or confidence, fear or faith. If you tell yourself every day that life is hard and that you are a failure, the subconscious says, "All right, let's make that true." And then you begin to notice more struggle, more loss, more self-sabotage. Not because the world is against you, but because you are living the beliefs you keep feeding yourself. Louise Hay often said, "The point of power is in the present moment." That's not just a beautiful idea, it's a psychological truth. Your thoughts in this moment are forming the direction of your future. The mind is malleable. It can be restructured. But to do that, we must become observers of our own inner world. This requires a kind of gentle vigilance. You begin to notice what you say to yourself when you're tired, when you've made a mistake, when someone rejects you. Are you cruel? Are you dismissive of your worth? Most of us are, but awareness is the first step toward freedom. When you catch yourself thinking, "I can't," you have the power to stop and ask, "Where did I learn this? Is it even true?" That small pause opens the door to transformation. Let's bring in some psychology here. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most evidence-based forms of modern therapy, is rooted in this principle. Change your thoughts and your behavior, and therefore your life begins to change. Louise Hay's work parallels this beautifully, though she approached it with a more intuitive, spiritual touch. She taught us that thoughts are like ingredients. If you want to bake a different cake, you must choose different ingredients. The beauty of this truth is that no matter where you are in life, whether you're at the beginning of a dream or the end of a rope, you can choose again. You can choose a thought that supports you rather than one that undermines you. That is the real power we all hold, the ability to respond to life with conscious, deliberate thought. And that choice, when practiced consistently, can create a radically different life experience. So when you say, "I can do it," you're not just reciting a phrase. You are choosing to align your inner world with strength, with clarity, and with courage. And when that alignment becomes a habit, the outer world cannot help but shift to reflect it. Never underestimate the power of a single thought. It is the seed of your entire reality. Plant it wisely. So now that we've explored the immense influence of your inner dialogue, let's talk about the tool that allows you to reshape that dialogue. Affirmations. Affirmations are not just pretty sentences written in a self-help book. They are intentional declarations expressed in the present tense that serve as instruments of mental and emotional rewiring. When used with consistency and sincerity, affirmations have the power to transform deeply rooted beliefs that may have been formed in childhood, in trauma, or in repetition over time. They are not magical phrases that change your life overnight. They are disciplined, conscious practices of reconditioning the mind. Let's pause here and ask, why do affirmations work? From a psychological perspective, they work because the brain is designed to believe what it hears often enough, especially from sources it trusts, and the most trusted voice in your life, whether you realize it or not, is your own. That internal voice shapes how you feel about yourself, how you navigate the world, and even what you believe is possible for you. Affirmations are a way of guiding that voice, steering it away from the habitual pattern of self-doubt and fear, and directing it towards strength, wholeness, and love. But the key is this: affirmations must be used with consciousness. If you repeat a positive statement while simultaneously feeling like it's a lie, the mind resists. That's why Louise Hay often recommended starting gently, using affirmations that feel believable, that your body and spirit can begin to lean into. You might not feel comfortable saying, "I love myself completely," at first, but you can begin with, "I am willing to learn to love myself." That's a doorway the mind can walk through. The willingness alone has power, and as you continue to practice, your inner resistance softens. Your nervous system begins to relax around new ideas. You create neural pathways that say, "Yes, I am enough. Yes, I deserve good things. Yes, I am capable of change. This is not wishful thinking. This is cognitive restructuring." You are retraining the mind to support your growth rather than sabotage it. There's also a spiritual element to affirmations that's equally important. Words carry vibration. Every affirmation you speak is not just heard by your mind, it's felt by your body, your energy field, your heart. When you say, "I am safe," you're not just convincing your intellect. You're offering safety to every part of your being that has ever felt afraid or abandoned. That kind of message, when delivered regularly and with tenderness, begins to heal you at a very deep level. I want to be clear, affirmations are not about denying reality. They are about choosing the lens through which you engage with reality. You may still face challenges. You may still feel doubt. But when you speak affirmations, you are choosing to respond with empowerment instead of defeat. You are choosing to plant hope even in the soil of uncertainty. It's also important to understand that affirmations are most effective when they are repeated, not just once a week or once in a while, but daily. They work through accumulation, through rhythm. Just like water shapes stone over time, affirmations shape consciousness through repetition. Say them in the morning, say them before sleep, say them in the mirror. Look into your own eyes and speak to yourself like someone worth believing in, because you are. And remember, the affirmation itself is just the beginning. What matters is the relationship you build with it. It's not about blind optimism. It's about choosing to become an active participant in the creation of your inner life. So speak your words with purpose. Say them as if they matter, because they do. Your voice, your words, your mind. They are your instruments of healing and creation. You are not stuck with the thoughts you inherited. You have the power to choose new ones. Let your affirmations be the language of your becoming. If affirmations are the seeds we plant, then identifying our limiting beliefs is the process of clearing the soil. You cannot grow something new on ground that is already tangled with old roots of fear, unworthiness, and shame. This is why so many people try affirmations, say them for a week, and then give up. They say it's not working. But the truth is, if you're speaking new words while still carrying the weight of old, unconscious beliefs, those affirmations have nowhere to land. Limiting beliefs are not just thoughts. They are deep, often hidden convictions about ourselves and the world. They live just beneath the surface of our awareness, shaping how we interpret our experiences. Many of them were formed early in life. Perhaps you were told as a child, you're too sensitive, or you'll never amount to anything. Maybe you weren't told directly, but you felt it, through neglect, criticism, comparison, or simply a lack of love. And the child you were took those messages and internalized them as truth. The mind, especially the developing mind, doesn't question, it absorbs. And once those early messages take root, they grow into the lens through which you see everything. You start to believe, I'm not good enough. Love is conditional. Money is hard to come by. Or people always leave. You might not say those things out loud, but they inform the choices you make, the relationships you enter, and the risks you avoid. They become the silent architects of your life. That's why awareness is everything. You cannot change what you cannot see. The first step in using affirmations effectively is not to speak them louder, but to listen more deeply, to become curious about what you truly believe underneath the surface. Ask yourself, what do I believe about love, about success, about myself? And listen, not with judgment, but with compassion. When you uncover a limiting belief, don't rush to reject it. Understand that it once served a purpose. It helped you feel safe or accepted or in control. But now you have the power to choose differently. Louise Hay taught that every belief, no matter how destructive, was once a decision made in response to pain. That idea alone is freeing, because it means your beliefs are not fixed. They were learned, and anything that is learned can be unlearned. There's also a certain humility in doing this work. It's not about pretending we're perfect, or bypassing the discomfort that arises when we challenge our internal narratives. It's about becoming honest with ourselves, and that honesty becomes the doorway to transformation. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't, ask, whose voice is that? Where did I first hear that? Is that still true for who I am today? Sometimes you'll find that the belief isn't even yours. It belongs to a parent, a teacher, a culture. And just realizing that can loosen its grip. You can say, that story belongs to the past. I'm writing a new one now. And then, step by step, you begin to replace those old scripts with affirmations that reflect your truth today. Not your wounds, not your fears, but your possibility. Remember, healing isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, intention, and practice. The more you uncover the beliefs that have held you back, the more clearly you'll see the space that is available for something new. And that's where your affirmations will begin to take root, not on the surface, but deep within. So take the time to listen inward, question the voice that says you can't. And above all, remind yourself that you are not your past. You are the author of what comes next. Once you've begun the process of identifying and gently releasing your limiting beliefs, the next essential step is to understand how change actually happens, how those new affirmations you're speaking begin to take root in your life. And this is where too often overlooked elements come into play: repetition and emotion. We tend to underestimate the mind's loyalty to what is familiar. Even if a belief is painful or self-defeating, if it's been with us long enough, the mind will cling to it simply because it feels safe. This is why single moments of insight, though powerful, are not always enough to produce lasting change. The mind learns through repetition, not by hearing something once, but by hearing it again and again, consistently, patiently, with feeling. This is true whether you are reinforcing a negative belief or installing a new, empowering one. Repetition is how the subconscious mind begins to accept a new idea as real. But repetition alone is not enough. The emotional energy behind what you say gives it power. The subconscious does not respond strongly to words that are spoken robotically, without conviction. It responds to feeling. Emotion is the glue that binds thought to belief. When you say, "I am safe," and you feel the weight of those words, your body starts to soften, your nervous system begins to recalibrate, and your inner world starts to align with that truth. The more you feel your affirmations, the more effective they become. You're not just saying them, you're embodying them. That's why it's so helpful to say your affirmations out loud, and even better, to say them in front of a mirror. Louise Hay called it mirror work, and it's one of the most direct ways to bring emotion into the practice. When you look into your own eyes and speak words of love or strength, it may feel uncomfortable at first, because you're confronting yourself. You're asking your inner world to shift, and that vulnerability is where healing begins. Even if you cry, even if you resist, the act of showing up and speaking to yourself with kindness is transformational. You are building a new relationship with yourself, one repetition at a time. You might wonder, how often should I do this? How long does it take? The answer, of course, varies for everyone. But as a general principle, the more consistent you are, the deeper the change. You're training a new mental and emotional habit. It's like learning a language. You don't become fluent overnight, but if you immerse yourself in it every day, eventually it becomes second nature. So say your affirmations in the morning, say them before bed, write them down, repeat them throughout the day when you feel doubt or fear. Let them become part of your inner rhythm. What's also worth noting is that repetition and emotion work both ways. If you consistently rehearse thoughts of unworthiness or failure, and you do so with emotion, anger, shame, fear, you are also reinforcing those patterns. This is not to blame or shame anyone. It's to awaken you to the reality that you already know how to use affirmations. You've been affirming things to yourself for years. The only difference now is that you're choosing to be intentional about what you affirm and how you affirm it. This is your power, not in forcing change, but in patiently guiding it. You are planting new thoughts, watering them with attention and emotion, and trusting that they will grow in time, and they will. So don't underestimate the value of repetition. Don't underestimate the quiet strength of feeling your words. Keep showing up, keep speaking your truth even when it feels new, because every time you say, "I can do it," and you mean it even just a little more than yesterday, you are building the life you've been waiting for. Now let's talk about one of the most overlooked and yet most essential ingredients in any real transformation: self-love. You can speak all the affirmations in the world, you can challenge every limiting belief, but if you do it from a place of harshness, pressure, or inner rejection, the change won't last. Or worse, it will become just another mask, another performance to keep you from facing the one truth that can heal everything: that you are already worthy, that you are already enough. Louise Hay was unwavering in her teaching that self-love is not vanity or ego. It is the foundation upon which all growth is built. Self-love is not about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about recognizing that simply because you exist, you are deserving of kindness, respect, compassion, and care. You are not required to earn love. You don't have to achieve a certain level of success, or reach a certain weight, or fix every flaw in order to deserve your own acceptance. You just do, but here's where it becomes psychologically complex. Many of us carry the unconscious belief that self-love is dangerous, that if we accept ourselves as we are, we'll stop improving, we'll become lazy or selfish or complacent. We believe that judgment is what drives change, that shame is necessary for discipline. But let me offer you something to consider. Have you ever truly transformed from a place of self-hatred? Maybe you've changed your behavior temporarily, but did it last? And did it bring peace, lasting change? Real, grounded, soulful transformation happens when we feel safe enough to grow, and nothing creates that safety more than self-love. When you begin to treat yourself with compassion, when you offer patience to your mistakes and encouragement to your fears, your entire inner world softens, and in that softness, there is room to move, to evolve, to become. From a psychological perspective, self-love calms the inner critic. It reduces stress, lowers cortisol, and helps regulate your nervous system. Your brain begins to associate growth with support rather than punishment. And from a spiritual perspective, self-love is the gateway to divine connection. It is the place where you remember that you are not separate from life. You are life. How can you be unworthy of the very thing you are made of? This is why affirmations like "I love and accept myself exactly as I am" are so powerful. Not because they are instantly believable, but because they begin to challenge the core wound that says, "I must earn love." With each repetition, you loosen the grip of that lie. And over time, you begin to experience a radical shift in how you treat yourself, how you speak to yourself, and what you believe you're capable of. And let's be honest, self-love takes courage. It's not always comfortable. In fact, for many people, it feels unfamiliar, even threatening at first. But discomfort doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're interrupting a long-standing pattern. You're choosing a new way of being, and that choice, made day after day, becomes your liberation. Start small, start gentle. Offer yourself grace in the moments when you stumble. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" ask, "What does this part of me need?" That question alone is an act of love. And each time you answer it with kindness, you reinforce a new inner truth, that you are not broken, you are becoming. So love yourself through the process, not just when you get it right, but especially when you don't. Because when you learn to stand in your own corner, to be your own ally, every affirmation becomes more than a sentence. It becomes a lived experience. Speak kindly, act gently, choose love. The way you treat yourself sets the tone for every transformation that follows. All the insight, all the affirmations, all the inner work we've explored up to this point, none of it takes root without one essential ingredient: consistency. If transformation is the destination, then consistency is the vehicle that gets you there. Most people give up too soon, not because they aren't sincere, not because they don't want to change, but because they expect immediate results. We live in a culture of quick fixes and instant gratification. But when it comes to shifting your inner world, change doesn't come in a flash, it comes in layers. It comes through daily choices, quiet moments, and repeated commitments to yourself, even when nothing seems to be happening on the surface. Louise Hay often compared affirmations and mental work to planting a seed in the ground. You don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You trust the process, you water it, nurture it, and let nature take its course. Your affirmations, your new beliefs, your emerging self-love All of it requires the same kind of patience and faith. You don't speak an affirmation once and expect your entire life to change. You speak it every day, especially on the days when you don't believe it yet, because that's when it matters most. Let's talk about the psychology behind this. The brain is neuroplastic, meaning it can change, rewire itself based on repeated thought and behavior. Each time you repeat an affirmation, you're reinforcing a neural pathway. At first, it's weak, unfamiliar, but with consistency, it grows stronger. Eventually, it becomes your default response. What once felt awkward or false begins to feel natural. This is how belief becomes identity, but it takes more than repetition. It takes trust in the unseen. Just as you don't see a tree grow day by day, you may not notice the subtle ways you're changing. How you respond with more calm, how you choose boundaries more easily, how you speak to yourself with greater kindness. These shifts are real and they are powerful, but they only come if you stay the course. So how do you remain consistent in a world full of distraction and doubt? You build rituals, not rigid rules. You create a rhythm of support in your daily life. Maybe it's 5 minutes of mirror work each morning. Maybe it's writing your affirmations in a journal before bed. Maybe it's pausing during your lunch break to take 3 breaths and silently repeat, "I am enough." The form doesn't matter nearly as much as the present. What matters is that you keep showing up for yourself again and again. You will have days when you don't feel like doing it. You will have days when your old beliefs come roaring back. That's okay. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means coming back to yourself with gentleness and resolve. It means choosing to speak life into your dreams even on the days when your voice trembles. And don't underestimate the cumulative effect. Just as water smooths stone, your daily acts of affirmation smooth away the edges of fear and self-doubt. Bit by bit, you become someone who not only believes in possibility, you become someone who embodies it. So, remember this. The affirmation is not just a phrase. It's a practice. And the practice becomes a path. And that path leads you not to some distant version of yourself, but back to who you truly are. Stay with it, stay present, keep returning to your truth, no matter how many times you stray, because every time you say, "I can do it," with heart and with presence, you take one more step into the life that is waiting for you to believe in it. You are becoming the result of what you practice. Make it something beautiful.